not, there was a day and age when superhero movies weren't a dime a dozen. Compared to today, where there seems to be a new Marvel movie every month and everybody is lobbying for their own version of a Suicide Squad or Justice League movie, there weren't very many movies about superheroes. I mean, we had the Batman franchise still going strong, although at this point Joel Schumacher had usurped it from Tim Burton. We might have had a Spawn movie somewhere later down the line. I think you could count Mystery Men as a superhero movie, or at least a parody of superhero movies. And speaking of parodies of superhero movies, those were even fewer and further between than actual superhero movies back then, because the superhero franchise wasn't really all that big. The most superhero content you could hope for back then was Saturday morning cartoons like Spider-Man the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series. Side note, I'm starting to notice the Animated Series was a bit of a 90s cliche. It's like, it's not a cartoon, it's an animated series, ooh! Nowadays, superhero movies are all over the place, and the only thing more numerous than superhero movies, it seems, are deconstructionist takes or just outright parodies of superheroes, because that's just how it is right now. They are all over the place. Whereas back then, not so much. We had Mystery Men, and that's probably up for debate. And then you had Blankman. Much like 8 heads in a duffel bag or Canadian bacon, I distinctly remember Blankman being part of Comedy Central's Tuesday afternoon "Why the fuck aren't you at your job, you lazy fucking bum" programming. This was the kind of stuff they put on in the afternoon when they knew they had to fill airtime but didn't want to fill it with anything that was good. So, you know, just as a reminder that daytime television sucked even back then, they filled it with movies like this that usually had a reputation for being blockbuster bombs and nobody really liked when they were in theaters, but, you know, you gotta fill it with something, so why not? Despite the fact that I was aware that Blankman existed, I'd never actually seen the movie from start to finish. Like, at absolute most, I maybe saw, like, 4 minutes tops, and that was probably about 4 minutes too many, and then I decided to watch the entire movie from start to finish, and oh boy, I wish I hadn't done that. The one thing keeping me from saying that Blankman has a real paint-by-numbers plot for superhero parodies is that it came out in 1994, and like I said, you know, superhero plots weren't really commonplace back then. But even then, it probably had that real paint-by-numbers kind of feel to it. It starts with a guy who suddenly becomes aware of the crime and the horrible world around him, who decides he's going to make a change, and he dons a costume, and he picks fights with random muggers and other vigilant, you know, other vicious type people. He becomes a superhero. People start paying attention to him. People love him. He's all over the place. It's superhero mania. Then we're introduced to the main villain of the series. The villain does something that ruins the hero's reputation. Perhaps he beats him in a fight, or perhaps he just gives him a bomb that has no way of being defused, or something stupid like that. The people instantly turn on the hero because he can't do one thing correctly after doing so many other things correctly. Now we hate him. Apparently the people in Blankman suffer from Marvel Comics syndrome, according to some friends of mine, but that's beside the point. The hero then eventually fights the villain one last time, beats him, saves the day, and now everybody loves him again. The end. You've seen this movie before. Like, even if it was 1994 and this was the first time you'd ever seen Blankman ever, you've seen this movie before. Like, maybe you haven't seen Blankman before, but you've seen this movie before. That's just how copy-paste this is. It's the exact same formula movies like Thunder Force use, except thankfully there's no Melissa McCarthy. Although I'm not really sure one of the Wayans is a decent alternative. Also, if there's one key difference between Thunder Force and Blankman, it's that Blankman actually did make me laugh once or twice. Like, maybe not laugh out loud, oh my god, that's so funny, but more of an, okay, yeah, that was kind of clever, actually. Aside from maybe those 1 or 2 chuckle moments, though, this movie is not a very good comedy. It barely functions as a superhero movie. it doesn't really do much in terms of superhero parody. It's just there. In fact, dare I say, it's just blank. I actually found myself wondering how he ended up with the name Blankman, and then when I saw the movie and saw the reason was because when he finally saved somebody while he was in costume and everybody was like taking photos with ye old cameras that had flashes and weren't part of your cell phone, and they were all like, "What's your name? What's your name? What should we call you?" And he's like, "Oh God, superhero name, I'm drawing a blank. Blank? He's drawing a blank. That must be his action phrase. He's Blankman! Blankman! Yeah, Blankman!" Okay, I mean, it's kind of amusing, I guess, although if I'm being entirely honest, I thought his sidekick being named Other Guy was actually funnier. Also, I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say that this was that day and age when Steve Urkel was at the height of his popularity, because I'm noticing that Blankman is, well, he's not Steve Urkel, but like, he is Steve Urkel at the same time. Like, he's not Julian White, and he's not doing the whole, "Did I do that?" or "It's time to polka!" But, good God, he might as well be. Like, even the voice sounds like someone doing an impression of Urkel. And I guess if you like Urkel, you'll probably like Blankman. Bottom line, you don't have to see this movie. Like, if you really want to, I mean, fine, I guess. I'm not going to be able to stop you, but if you're asking for my opinion, you're better off just passing over this one. I genuinely didn't like it all that much. 2 hats out of 4. And that's going to do it, not just for this week's episode of It Came From Pluto TV, but it's actually going to do it for me for a while here on the YouTube channel. I'm actually going to be going on vacation here this weekend, starting this weekend, and I'm not going to be back for a while. And I know, taking a vacation during COVID is probably a bad idea, but what can I say? We need the vacation. And we're going to social distance, we're going to wear masks, we're going to do the responsible thing, you know. I am pro-vaccination. Don't start any debates in the comment box about vaccines and whatnot. That's not what this video is about. I'm just telling you right now, this is going to be a while before you hear from me. If you need to know what's going on, you can always follow me on my Twitter, @TommyTealHat, and I'll post updates on where things are there. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this latest batch of reviews, and I'll see you around.